Dr. Miller, you're no doubt familiar with the firm Palantir Technologies, are you not?
I'm not deeply familiar. I know the name, sir.
And what about Berico Technologies?
Also know the name.
All right. General Alexander, have you worked with Palantir in any of your official capacities?
I'm familiar with it. We've seen some of their technology, and they've demonstrated that. I'm not sure of the number of contracts that we have with Palantir, to be honest.
What about Berico?
Same. I know the name. I'd have to go back and look and see exactly what the contracts are with Berico.
General, can you explain what services and capabilities those two firms offer to the Department of Defense and the intelligence community?
My recollection of Palantir was a way of visualizing what's going on in the networks. One of the problems that we have is, how do you see what's going on in cyberspace? How do you actually see a network in a way that's meaningful to help defend and operate that? Especially if you have a network that has 15,000 different enclaves and all these different pieces. How do you make that meaningful? And my recollection with working with Palantir was, here is an idea that we could use for how to look at networks and how to secure it. We are looking at multiple options for how you actually see that. That's one of the things I think I put in my statement, situational awareness. How do you actually see? I think that's an important step for us to all have common situational awareness.
Are those tools that are developed for use by the defense and intelligence communities by those contractors? Do those contractors have the ability to use those tools, or the authority actually to use those tools in the private sector? Can they market those tools, in other words, to the private sector?
I think every contract is written differently that gives you authorities to do things, and I'd have to go look at how those contracts were written. I'm not personally familiar with the contract, so I'd have to go look at that. And I don't know who those contracts are with specifically, so I'd have to check that out. But generally speaking, in the development of a tool or a capability, in the contract it specifies whether that can be used broadly or whether it can be used only for the government. And it depends on where it's being developed, for whom and how.
Dr. Miller, anything you want to add on that?
Sir, General Alexander has it exactly right, and I can't provide any more details. We'd have to go back and look at the individual contracts to answer those questions.
Dr. Miller, would you be so kind as to provide my office with the DoD contracts with Palantir Technologies, Berico Technology, and the firm H.B. Gary Federal as soon as possible?
Sir, I will do everything possible to do so. What I'll need to do is, frankly, talk to our general counsel and make sure that the provision of that type of information is allowed contractually. And in any case, we'll get back to you as quickly as possible.
Information,
with as much information as possible.
A contract could bar the executive branch from providing information to the legislative branch?
No, sir. I guess I would like to be able to provide that information to you, and without knowing all the organizations within the department that have the contracts, I'm going to have to go back, and it'll take a bit of time to be able to map that out. And I also need to have an assessment of
whether or not
not of whether or not to provide the information
not
of whether or not to provide the information, but in what form to provide the information to you. If if you're asking for just the stack of contracts, I will say I'll take that back to the department and be.
Yeah, Dr. Miller, if you would take the request back, get the lawyers to look at it, see what is possible. If it's not possible to provide the information the gentleman's asked, if you'd ask the appropriate folks at the department to let us know why. And also, any information provided, of course, we'd ask that it be provided to the whole subcommittee so that all members can have it. So, does that sound good?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and that will conclude my questions.